So, hello to everyone. Welcome to our second episode of the ABCs of home based learning. Now, last week we talked about getting you and your kids ready to go through this journey, right? Because it's not just the kids who are going through it, it's you as well. Today, for our second episode, we are going to talk about managing your child's home learning needs. And keep in mind, children have different needs throughout like the ages, right? So today we have with us Elizabeth Wu. She is the co-founder of Treehouse. She is a parenting coach and she is a mommy of three. So say hello, Elizabeth.
Hi everyone, nice to see everyone here.
Thank you so much for joining us. Now,
Thank you for
when I was
having
getting to
me.
know you a little bit, you mentioned that you do have three kids who are currently going through that home-based learning. Maybe you can share a
Yeah,
little something about that with us.
so it's been a week. It's been a week of I don't know how to describe this feeling. It's become something that we need to quickly adjust to. But I don't want to use the word stuck, but I am at home with my husband who's working from home. I'm also with my three kids. This year they're 11, 10, and 8. And all of us are just finding our space in this new normal they call, right? This home-based learning and work from home. It's been crazy, but it's also been a new for us. It's a new thing. It's a new experience, and we're all learning to figure out each other as we go along.
That's very comforting to hear that. Okay, because you're an educator, you're a parenting coach, so even you're discovering these like new things about the setup, about your kids, about yourselves, right?
Yeah,
And I'm sure a lot of the parents we have in our community are probably struggling with some of those like discoveries as well.
for
And
sure.
like, can you imagine, right? And you have three kids, so you clearly understand that kids of different ages would have different needs. They'd have a different like attention span and things like that, right? So I'm gonna jump right into it, Elizabeth, and just go straight to okay, because we all know that there are different learning styles and there are different teaching styles, right? And even if you all come from the same family and live in the same household, children would have their own like learning styles. They develop their own like learning styles as they go through school. So how important is it for a parent to understand the learning style of their children so that they can adapt how they facilitate the learning at home?
I think it's really important to know your child, how they learn, what makes them tick. Broadly, you know that people can be auditory learners, could be visual learners. Some people are reading learning, or some people are kinesthetic learners, right? And all these are important. But what I really would like to advocate in home-based learning is also the fact that this is a new thing for all of us, and if we can't figure it out, just take your time to kind of chill, because in home-based learning, you're not meant to be the teacher.
Yes.
You do great as a facilitator. You do great as a cheerleader. You do great as a listener, finding out from your child like, oh, this was difficult for you. Oh, you couldn't read the instructions, and through that, discover what are your children's learning needs, rather than focusing on adapting to their learning styles. Really, because home-based learning is also very passive. It also lends itself very readily to more visual learning. And if you're a kinesthetic learner, you would actually find that
You struggle
yeah,
with that.
it's such a struggle, right? So this is a great chance to understand what are your children's learning needs, where they're struggling at, and how to help plug the gaps or connect the dots for them.
So
Yeah.
really, it's a time for parents to, I guess, observe and listen to their
Yes.
children, right? Like
Yes.
to
Yes.
tune in to what they really need. Because, come on, like what you said, we're not teachers, right? Like not all of us are teachers. If you're a
Yes.
parent and you're a teacher, good on you. You know,
Yeah.
this is a time to like hone those skills. But for other parents, for most parents,
Yeah.
we didn't go to school to take up like education and things like that. So these are going to be a little struggles we ourselves are going to have,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? So okay, that's very good to hear. I guess like a lot of parents will probably seek some comfort in that,
Yeah,
especially
don't
these
be a
times.
teacher, because the teacher has their job. When they go back to school, I'm pretty sure the teacher will collate the feedback, and facilitate a different form of learning. But what is happening in home-based learning right now for all of us is that we don't lose the momentum of learning. That's the most important.
That's true. You keep at it.
Yeah.
Very interesting. But now, right? Okay, so because kids, the moment they go to school, they're so used to learning like in a classroom setting. And I understand like there is an adjustment when you move from one type of setting to the other, especially if it's a home, because there are a lot of distractions. And for kids, they probably see the home as something as a like this is where I relax, this is where I enjoy family time and things like that. So do you have any tips on how to handle like the distractions that are everywhere at home? Like because you have three kids, so like the other
Yeah,
kids can be
for
distraction for
sure.
them. Your
Sure.
parents, how do you handle that in your house?
And they being at home, they're a distraction to me, you know.
Yeah,
So we're
that's so
all just
true.
figuring out how to figure, I mean, we're all figuring out how to just figure this whole stay at home thing out, you know. They're a distraction to me. There are many things that distract them, and then we end up distracting each other, and then, you know, it's just it can get crazy, right? With so many children in the house. And I mean, I don't have golden advice. I really don't. But I think one of the key things before this home-based learning kicked in, before this whole staying at home kicked in, we were very clear that all right, we need to start decluttering the house. We need to start carving out corners where people could go in to kind of own and say, you know, and we kind of recognize that, okay, if it's your time to do your learning there, then you're at that corner, then we know that we kind of will leave you alone. But when you are there, we would also ask that you keep it as minimal as possible. But you know, sometimes it's also not possible. My children bring a ton of things. They bring their toys, they bring their
All
headphones,
of a
they
sudden, need half the room like
yeah.
outside.
Yeah, and then they're like, "Oh, I need my water. I need my this," you know, and it's just it's just crazy.
It's
And me
chaos.
too, right? I do work halfway. I'll be like, "What's happening?" And I'll be going inside and checking on things. I think we're all figuring out this new normal together. What I really would advocate would be really just be around, just be that parental presence that is strong, that is warm, that is just being there for them. And you know, if they're distracted, gentle reminders. Sometimes it's just inevitable. We as adults get distracted too. So,
More
you
so
know,
kids, right?
yeah, yeah. And, you know, decluttering is one of the best things. Less is more.
So
Um,
preparing the space before you use it
yes,
for studying will really help focus the mind.
yes, yes. Or like for me, I started like getting boxes to categorize what's in their school bag. You know, just dump everything in your school bag. You know, when you're doing your home-based learning, just lug your box. You know, pick up all that your teacher have returned you, and you know, work on. Because sometimes home-based learning is not just home-based learning is not only online, right? They have offline stuff to do. They have worksheets to do. So they need to be able to find them to respond during that time. Sometimes you need to take out a physical thing to show the teacher, right? They need to have all these quickly,
Items
quite
ready.
near them. Yes,
Okay, so organizing like per subject would be useful, I guess, in this regard, because then
yes,
I need to do math, then I just get the math box and everything is there.
yes, yes,
That's a
yes,
great tip, like
yes,
helping them focus, right?
yes.
Also, I guess that would also help them adjust to the new environment because
That's right.
already, like, if things are scattered everywhere, then, that's a distraction on its own. So
Yeah,
having things organized would help them adjust also to,
yeah,
to the
yeah,
whole thing.
yeah. That's
So
right.
that's one. How else would you turn like the home into a study zone?
I don't really feel that I want to turn my home into a study zone because I still want my home to be a relaxing place. I still want a home to be a home. I mean, already the children already have their own study areas, and now, you know, they are all just taking different time slots because, like in the home-based learning, they all have different
Time.
schedules to go in, and then they stay there for a while and then they come out to relax. I think conduciveness in the learning environment, pretty much in many households, we have
Yeah.
really, you know, if you have primary school going children, you would have tried to create that for them in some ways. I think with the home based learning, with the need for using a device, perhaps to just get them ready set them up nicely, get all the passwords done, put everything within reach, your water, your whatever, and then go on your screen time. And when it's done, shut it down, do other things. Have designated corners. I have designated spaces for each of them. So then we kind of know that it's a do not enter kind of a space. Yeah.
So when you have these designated spaces and you do follow like the curriculum with the syllabus that the teachers send you, right? I'm sure this is also like an opportunity for parents to like see, probably not just hear from the teacher, but actually see where their children are having difficulty,
Yeah.
like in what subject they need more help with and things like that. With online learning now, I mean, like it's home-based learning, which is like what you said, there's a lot of screen time involved, but they also have
Yes.
like sheets and everything like that, right? um do you think now is a good time to like supplement that learning or complement that home-based journey with like other online tuition classes or other online extracurricular like activities, just to make that like the whole holistic education come full circle?
Sure. I think I'm an advocate for like I follow my children's leading, right? Although I would see certain gaps, I would also want them to be able to tell me, hey, I think I want extra of this, or oh, it's been quite mundane. I would love to resume art, for example, or like my daughter does art, and tennis lessons are completely stopped for my youngest
Yeah,
son, and that's such a bummer
all the
for him.
physical activities, I
I
can
mean, you
imagine.
can't do tennis online, right? There's just no
That's
way,
true.
right? So, going back to knowing your child, what do they want to really do? Because part of this new normal is also that there is this feeling that we're all actually grappling with, some more evident than not, some unspoken, is there this general sense of anxiety and fear. And children feel it too, they feel it
Feel the
from,
same. It's
yeah,
true.
they feel it from the vibes, they hear it from the news, they hear it in our conversations. They also have a sense of fear and anxiety that may creep in that we won't know. And if we were to overcrowd their schedules again, one of the best things that happened for me was that it completely reset my schedule. Suddenly I had no more chauffeuring to do. I had no more shuttling to do. And it was like, oh my gosh, we didn't need to think about, oh, we're rushing to this class. We I have three, and even just one child
Yeah.
taking one enrichment, we would be almost everywhere, right? And so it reset the whole schedule. It caused us to rethink what is it that we really wanted to do? What is it that we really needed to do? And the last thing you want is to start overcrowding your child's schedule again and then bring in that greater sense of like, oh, actually things have changed and now like I'm getting more stressed, I'm getting more stuff piling on my plate, and what's this, right? So I really feel that as a family, this is a great time to reflect on enrichment classes. Please, by all means, if your enrichment provider has gone online, has made it completely workable and enjoyable, and your children enjoy it. Like my daughter enjoys art a lot, and the teachers found that it's worked, right? It's great. But if it's something that it's not something that your child wants to do,
Then don't force it on them.
yeah, rethink it. And home-based learning, I know there's this sense of like missing out, right? It's not it's not like school, and it definitely isn't like school, and it's never meant to replace school. It's never meant to. And we will come back to a sense of normalcy again, I hope. And then that's where everyone recalibrates, right? And let the teachers do their job. If you feel that you've explored with your child and you have spotted some gaps in his learning, could it be that you could do more of the skill-based things with him, more revision with your child? And if an enrichment is something that he wants, I mean, it's
There's
really
no
know
preference.
your child. Yeah.
Okay, since we're talking about like knowing your child, right? And also, I'm sure all parents want their children to have like that whole experience, not just the academic side, but also like probably the creative side and things like that. How important is it to also, I guess, nourish that non-academic side, that the creative side and the logical thinking side of children throughout this home-based learning, journey experience?
I think this home-based learning experience has given us a great opportunity, a great window of opportunity to nourish that precisely. We've been it's resetting a lot of our priorities, and now that we're home, and that we find that now you've got recipe books that are collecting dust, right? The children can learn a whole ton of skills being in the kitchen, and just every day having to, you have no choice. You just have to talk to each other, right? And there's so much interpersonal communication happening. We are all sharpening our communication skills, and all these skills, I think they're surfacing as more important than there's just not a time as this is the time where it's so important now your parental presence is there. This is the time to hone those
Connect.
skills. Yeah.
Correct. We actually did a poll in the community yesterday, and we were asking about what do you feel like in terms of extracurricular classes and tuition classes? What do you feel your kids need more now? And if you read through the comments, a lot of them were sharing that, like home skills. A lot of them were saying maybe
Yes.
it's time to teach the kids how to wash the dishes and clean the house, things like that. And I was like,
Precisely. Yeah.
that's brilliant. Keep them busy. You get them involved, and at the same time they are learning these skills that like they will definitely need when they grow up and they move on to like their own homes and live their own lives. So
Yeah.
it's quite telling now. Also, it's nice to see that since people are stuck at home, right, like we're all, for the safety of everyone, we do choose to stay home. Everyone's getting more and more creative about
Yes.
how they spend their time, and it's interesting to see what people are doing because they do share it online.
Yeah.
So you're absolutely right. This is really the time and
Yeah.
place to get creative with all
Yeah.
of these things.
I
But I'm
think
gonna jump back.
yeah.
I'm sorry.
So
Yes, you were going to say.
So I was going to say, I think we've not baked for a while and we started baking. We've not exercised together. We've started exercising. I think families are seeing themselves doing that. And don't, I would tell parents, please don't see it as these are like not important. These are the most important moments that you could impart skills, values to your children. And we might lose this chance the moment everything is over. We go back to our lives. We go back to being
Everyone's gonna want to
busy.
go out. Yeah, that's so
Yeah, and then
true.
there's just too much of those activity time and not much of the connection time anymore.
One of the pillars of POSP parents is actually nurturing family bonds. So I think now more than ever, since everyone's spending so much time at home, now it's like the perfect time to nurture those family bonds,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Fantastic. I'm gonna go jump back, right? We were talking about schedules, and earlier on you were mentioning about how, okay, so children have a certain amount of screen time they have to spend um, online with their classmates or with their teachers and things like that. Now, knowing that they all have screen times and sometimes you do have to share these devices and everything, how would you structure their day so that they effectively learn what they're watching, they consume the information properly and things like that? How would you structure their day?
Um, I'm very blessed. So I think I also speak from a privileged position where each of my children have a laptop to themselves. So I know that a lot of families have tried to make it work. And I think schools have also tried to make it work for
Yes, they have.
families with multiples by scheduling different levels to access SLS at different times, right? So for us, I don't want to schedule it by the hour nor by the minute. For me, it's by chunks, right? Morning, afternoon, and evening. There's three big chunks. Morning, let's all just spend doing work. So for us, work comes before play. So we will make sure that you get your SLS done, you get your worksheets done, you get your learning done as instructed by your teacher. And in the afternoons, if we could spend time together, if we could have our lunch together, that would be great. If I'm caught up with work, then I can't, but we will try to spend the evening together.
Perfect. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's inevitable, right? Because now that we are home, there's only so much craft that we can do. There's only so much. There has to be a good balance between offline and online, but to be really honest, to see looking at my three children, they spend the most, they get most engaged when they are on the screen. They would be watching something that they would be interested in. They might be Googling words that research, right? If they want to find out more about life cycle of a frog, it could take them from one video to another video to another video. So it's
Yeah, and your
also,
kids are 11, 10, and 8, right?
yes, yes.
Okay.
And also they would be interested, curious to find out about something, and they would spend quite a lot of time just doing that online. And that to me is, it can only be done after your SLS is done. And if you go online, then please tell me what you've been watching. And so we just divide our schedule by three, like big chunks. And yeah, I don't have a timetable for them. We just try to squeeze in what we think the family needs. If the family needs exercise time, then let's find a way to get active. If we want to, it's also spontaneity at this point in time, right? It's can be quite mundane if we follow a schedule.
And if it's like from Monday to Sunday, because like imagine like your weekends are getting blurred with your weekdays, right?
Yes,
So
yes,
I can imagine. But okay, so you separate, like I'm guessing you prioritize you have important tasks that you have to
yes,
accomplish it, and
yes,
you park that all in the morning as much as you can
yes,
to
yes,
get it. Oh,
yes,
that's
yes. And then, always leave room for spontaneity, right? Do we want to do something today, that's different? We don't have a schedule, I don't want to overschedule them, because already before this, our lives are overscheduled.
true. That's
Yeah.
so true. So now, I
Yes.
mean, like they're already spending time at home. We don't want to like make them busy like
Sure.
every hour. Okay, that's
Sure.
true.
Sure. And I
But
have this, and I
how
would just want
important
to
is, yeah, sorry,
I
go
just want
ahead.
to I just want to add that it's really okay for your children to be bored. I encourage boredom.
Yes.
Please.
You
It's
encourage
okay.
boredom.
Yes,
Pray
please
tell
be
why.
bored. Because boredom is the start of imagination and creativity, right? So my children always come to me and say, "I'm so bored. I have nothing to do," and I'll be like, "Yes, great. You have nothing to do. You're so bored." And that's how I respond. And then they'll be like, they'll be forced to go think about something. So after
Like
that, you could,
entertain yourself. Yeah.
yeah, entertain yourself, draw, read, build blogs, whatever.
That's
Yeah.
very interesting because actually, okay, like we always ask about like their kids. I mean, parents, I think they hate hearing that their children are bored. My kid is 2, so I don't hear that yet. He's still pretty good with entertaining himself. But I remember myself growing up, and we used to always, "Mommy, I'm bored," and my mom would be like, "Entertain yourself." And I can imagine parents probably hate hearing that, but it's okay. I'm so
I
happy
think
that you
it's
said that.
okay.
It's okay for
Yes.
kids to be bored. It's not a bad
Yes.
thing.
Yes. I always say that geniuses are birthed from their boredom. Please just be bored then.
But how do you, okay, so you allow them to be bored. You're not really structured. I mean, you don't really follow like a strict schedule throughout the day. But do you schedule breaks? Do you schedule playtime? Or is that still like, this is still coming like a free flow type of schedule?
Um, So it's more of breaking the day up into big chunks, and
Yeah.
also being very observant. If a child, for example, is looking at the screen for a prolonged period of time, especially my 11-year-old, I will mandate the vision break. Break times are always meal times. Meal times, it's lovely now that we get to eat together because we all have to eat at home and we have to eat together. We start to chat, and
To
that to
each
me,
other, yeah.
yeah, that's so lovely, right? I mean,
Yeah.
sometimes we're so busy before this that, I mean, I don't get to eat lunch with them on a weekday, and now I'm really cherishing it.
It's a
Uh,
victory, right?
yeah, and then evening, sometimes the day is so long that by the time it's 5, we're like, oh my gosh, we're done. We're actually done, and there's nothing to do already. And that's our break time, right? Just being spontaneous. Can we play a board game together? Can we draw together? Can we just read as a family, and talk about what we've read? No schedules. If you don't want to do it, that's fine, And then, yeah, because I think this period of time is so precious.
That's
I,
true. It's time you get to spend with your kids.
yeah, and I don't want to schedule anything to make them feel resentful or anxious, or like, it's horrible staying at home.
Especially for kids, because
Yes.
they like going out, they like to run and things like that. I keep hearing that you don't like to keep schedules like strictly, right? But um I understand that there's this, like a certain amount of routine that sticking to a routine that would help children, I guess, adjust. So how
Yes.
do you balance that out, especially for younger kids? Because younger kids tend to respond better if there's a routine in place,
Yes,
right?
yes, yes. So while the schedule is freer and more flexible, the routine needs to stay. So I think the weekends, of course, we can sleep in, we can just be a bit more flexible. But when it comes to weekdays, bedtime is still bedtime, right? Bedtime is
Yeah.
still at 9 o'clock. We still want to wake up as much as I mean, if we
Right. Busy
slept enough,
schedule.
we want to wake up, right? 8 o'clock, we're up. That's the routine. The routine still doesn't change because that's the sense of stability we still give them, and it doesn't blur our weekdays and weekends. With the younger one, even more so with routine, I do also need to. I find myself instructing sometimes the youngest a lot more. Like, hey, if you're done with this, shall we explore? Because for them, the sense of time gets more lost
That's true.
with because they're younger, and they just kind of like, my youngest is a little bit like, I just want to do anything I want to do, but hey, it's lunchtime, can we have lunch? And after lunch, can you think of something to do? Would you like to read? And if you're reading, where would you be? You would sit there, and just give him a sense of like stability, and some guidance and boundaries.
At what age did you realize that like your kids needed less and less of a routine? Because I understand like the younger ones would, and it would vary, I guess, from child to child, but generally, right? Like at what age do they need less routine where they can be more independent?
I think when my eldest was about 10, turning 11, he started to take more ownership. And I think as a parent, that's so important. That's why it's so important to know your child, right? When you see that he's able to take on more ownership of things, you don't have to tell him anything. He doesn't need to be told. Things get done, there are good habits that he already has, like, he brushes his teeth, he does his whatever he needs to do, and then he gets to work, he completes it. You kind of know that you can start trusting him, and so when I see in home-based learning that he's taking a lot more time to complete his learning, it's not because he was trying to be doing funny things on the computer, but he was really doing his learning. And when it's done, he would shut it, he would take a break, and then I would know that, hey, this child is self-regulating. He's also having a sense of discipline,
Hmm.
and it's quite clear now. So I would need to. I could hands off a lot more.
That's very interesting. So I'm guessing this whole like independent study and being able to do things on their own would also somehow come with, because their attention span or their ability
Yes.
to focus really starts to come in, right? So for younger kids, their attention span and their focus wouldn't be that sharp yet. But how do you help them, like how do you help manage children's like short attention spans, because they can easily be distracted with other children and things like that, right? So are there like certain exercises you make them do so that they can concentrate or focus, or is this something that you just really allow them to develop into?
Yes, so definitely younger children will have shorter attention spans. I'm seeing it every day. The youngest would complete his, and also the learning that he needs to do is much lesser, right? In an
Hmm.
hour, he's done with his learning, his home-based learning from school, and then he'll be like, oh, I'm so bored, I have nothing to do. And he goes around disturbing the rest, or he comes and disturbs me and
Or
looks into
demands
what we're
attention?
doing.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's very normal. One of the things I have to keep telling myself is he's 8. It's very normal. If he were to be able to sit for long, that's not normal, right? And short of just, I know a lot of it's also very tempting, to be honest, to just give him a screen and say, okay, just go find
Yeah.
something to do, right? So I invite him. I invite him to help out in the house if he wants to. Just kind of make suggestions, give him suggestions on some of the activities he can undertake, encourage him to do some running in the house, pacing that in the house if he wants to. Uh, yeah, so I think just finding lots of opportunities to um, break up his. The other thing is also if he's bored, he could also be invited to go look for things to do.
Their own, yeah.
Yeah, there are a lot of other, if you Google some brain gym exercises, you could just share them with your kids. Just getting them to integrate the left and right brain to see if that could help with its energy. Yeah, and just also I believe in eating right, so just making sure that they have their fruits, they have their, don't stop eating your fruits, don't stop, just making sure that they have nutritious meals because so accessible, right? At home, just pick up the pack of
Snack.
chips and just snacks, and
It's the easy way out.
yeah, these all adds up to how distracted, how restless they are. So as long as
So diet plays an important part too and focus.
definitely.
Oh,
I mean, if they're sugar loaded, right, just
sugar.
you would definitely have a child that is completely restless, distracted, and very unsettled. So I wouldn't want to introduce that. I make sure that they have their fruits, they have their juices that are healthy, so that they could be more calm through the day as well, especially the youngest.
That's so interesting. Okay, so is this, I mean, of course it's important to have like good diet the entire day, but um do you give them like sweets or treats like at some point in the day? Like is there like a good time to do it or
I think if you're taking anything sugar loaded, like a bowl of cereal or whatever, they take it in the
yeah.
morning, they have the energy. But my cutoff time is usually, I think by after lunch, no more sugar. Just really because I can't deal. I can't deal with like somebody jumping around and like. I mean, if he's active, there are things that we can do. You can play a game that's we could
Physically like
yeah
stimulate.
physically we could invent some games and we do that. I've even gotten him to wear a mask and run up and down the corridor outside just because
Just to
you know
expel that energy.
yes, but if you add sugar to the whole equation, you're just asking for
Trouble.
you need to be able to handle it. That's what I would say.
That's a very interesting thought. Okay, so parents, if you are going to give your kids sugar, make sure you're ready to run after them, to keep up with them. I don't know, man. Like maybe you'll need some sugar too. I don't know. But that's so interesting. So, okay, another very important, very insightful thing that diet really plays a role in their attention span.
Yeah.
That's very interesting. It's also like a math. Again, we're going back to the very first like topic we discussed. It's also like important to know your kids like
Yes.
learning style, how they, like what makes them tick, like what you were saying. So you can also like to sort of like understand these cues that they may be giving you, right?
Yes. That's right.
That's so interesting. Thank you so much, Elizabeth. This was definitely like a fun conversation. And I'm sure many of the parents would, like take away a lot of like the learnings here and probably I hope they apply it at home because we still have a couple more weeks of home-based learning, right?
That's
And
right. Yes.
I don't know how you're doing it because you have three kids who are currently like really full on home-based learning. And I'm
Yeah.
sure there are a lot of parents who are probably on the same boat as you.
Sure.
So hold on.
Yeah. Let's make
A
the
few
best
more
of it
weeks.
together. Yeah.
Enjoy it as much as possible.
Yes.
All right. So, guys, POSC parents, thank you so much again for joining us for episode 2. If you have any questions for Elizabeth or for myself, feel free to leave it down in the comments and we will get back to them. We will also be putting together maybe like a few infographics of what learnings we gathered here in this episode, and we will share it back in the community because one of the parents said that it would be helpful to have that sort of like image infographic on in the community for you guys to learn. So we're going to be preparing that for episode 1 and episode 2 as well. So keep a lookout for that. For now, stay home, stay safe, and join us again next week.